I had an action-packed weekend this past weekend with a gig down in Alabama, close to Birmingham, kind of outside of Birmingham, maybe half hour outside of Birmingham. It was a wedding gig, and there's two things I want to talk about this gig. The first thing is, when I got to the venue, I was the first one there, and I went inside to just inspect where to load in and just kind of survey the area to see, like just what the load in would be like and what the stage area is like and all of that, and make sure that I was in the right place, parked wise and all that. So as I go in, I ran across the wedding planner who was at the venue, obviously, and she took me to the stage. And on the stage, in the back of the stage, there were 4 shelves with like glass candles inside of these long cylinder like, whatever that word is, cylinders, tall glass cylinders with candles in them, and some of them also had water in them too, and they were of various heights and sizes, and there was, on each shelf there was about 3 or 4 levels. And then the shelf itself was made out of glass, and then of course the glass cylinders on top of the glass. And all, so 4 of those, 4 shelving units, all in the back. And the stage was one of those portable jobbers that you sort of put together, so not like a permanent stage. So the moment you walk up the steps to the stage and you step onto the stage, cling, 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 like every step that you took on stage, this glass was like knocking around, and it sounded like just like glass, like ringing, and it was loud enough that it would actually like startle me, each time I got on stage. And so I proceeded to tell the wedding planner as nicely and politely as I could, that number one, I don't have a dog in this race at all, being just the drummer, and I'm here to play the drums and get paid and go home. But I told her, I said, I don't see how that's going to work, because, number one, the vibration of the band playing is just gonna, the candles are just gonna vibrate and slide right off the shelves. And number two, with all the dancing going on with this particular show, I was playing a show with the 8 South band, which is a division of 12 South. There's all this choreography, and it's like a whole production show. And so at times the entire band, minus myself, because I'm stationary at the drums, but at times the whole band is like moving and shifting around, dancing, and a lot of times the stage will do this kind of thing, especially these portable stages like this was. It'll go back and forth this way, and it'll also go back and forth front and back this way. And these whole shelves, they weren't even like secured. So, they looked top heavy, number one, and they would just topple right over. And if they did, they'd hit me, because I'm in the back, and I'd be the one hurt with glass all over me and water all over my gear, including my electronics. So this, as the rest of the band arrived, I informed our band leader of the issue, and a discussion ensued between band leader and wedding planners and the various other people putting together the party. And it went on for a while, and finally I had to just kind of put my foot down with my band leaders. I took them away in private and very calmly and quietly said, look, I'm not going to play the show unless those shelves get moved. And so the lesson here is sometimes you need to really stand your ground and stand up for what you know is right and for what you know will keep you from getting hurt on stage. This is very important because you'll find people will take advantage of you, whether they know it or not, and whether they mean to or not. I'm sure these people had no ill will, and it didn't seem like, it just didn't seem like they had any idea that this wasn't like a thing that was going to work. This backdrop behind, on the stage, they were, I know that they were dead set on it, until we got there, and especially until I got there. But look, I'm the one who's at risk here, and I sign a non-disclosure, I sign a form that says I can't, sue my band if I get hurt on stage. I could certainly sue the venue, but I don't want to have to do that. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to wreck my gear, and I don't want to have glass all over everything in the middle of a show. So it's just not worth it, and so that was why I just decided, you know what, I'm going to put my foot down here, and I'm just going to say, I'm not playing. There's no drums in this show until those shelves get moved. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, this particular venue was a very, very live room, and it had one of those ceilings. It has a ceiling sort of like I have here in my studio, only it didn't really work in our advantage because we were set up and the side, and so the ceiling was going up like this. As you looked out from the stage, the ceiling went out like this and then back down like that. And so and then to boot, where the drums were, there was a low portion of the ceiling. So the drums were under this low ceiling, which was, parallel to the floor, and then it went up, and then it went like up at an angle like that. And so, long story short, the room was just super live, and the drums just were blowing up the room, when I was playing with the band, during sound check. And so front of house guy said, you're gonna have to tone it down, especially the snare and the cymbals, which were the issue mainly. The drums themselves, the kick and the toms, not so much, as usually is the case. It's the cymbals that bleed into all the microphones, and the snare as well. Those higher pitched, mid to high frequency, ranges, which just they shoot out into everything, and of course to hurt your ears too if it's too loud. Kick drums aren't going to hurt your ears if they're too loud. You can't have too loud a kick drum in a dance band, in my opinion. But so I had to, what do you do, right? I mean, obviously you play quieter, sure. That was key. And so just be aware of it. It's hard to know how things are translating in a situation like this because I'm wearing in-ears. And so all I'm hearing is what's coming through the microphones. I don't hear the room. I don't hear how loud the drums are in the room, or the balance of things versus the band versus the audience, etc. All I'm hearing is what's going through the mics and into my in-ears and what I dial in through my mix. So it's really, you really just gonna have to trust your judgment, and err on the lighter side of things, which I tried to do, of course. I also, want to make mention is another strategy that I used um, for making it work in a live room like this, where the drums are just nuking the whole place, is make different musical choices. So in other words, let's say like in places where the band has like a unison figure, or there's some sort of hits that the band has, normally you might play those hits on the cymbals with the kick drum or the snare, ba ba, kind of a thing. Well, make different musical choices. Maybe play those hits on the drums, on the toms, with no cymbals. Or, yeah, go for that big roundhouse fill, but come around and don't hit the big crash, boom, on the one. Maybe come around just and then keep it tight. So, try to minimize the cymbal wash in these kinds of situations, and just go easy on the snare, as much as you can. I mean, obviously I'm still trying to bring the intensity, and this is still it's a dance band after all, and it's a show. So you want to, you need to bring some kind of a flair. And we had a great show, but it's a challenge, because all through the night I'm trying to curb myself and just keep like a ceiling on my volume, so that it's only going to get this high. Okay. So just some thoughts on the gig that I did over the weekend. It was Saturday night. It was an overnight. I drove down myself and drove back up on Sunday. So it was it was nice to play. I hadn't played the show since New Year's Eve, so hopefully we'll be doing more of these very soon, coming this year. So, all right, guys, that's all I have for today. But yeah, just a couple lessons there. Number one, stand your ground. If something is not right, you gotta fix it somehow, or make it so that it's safe. If something is dangerous, make it so that it's safe. I've hurt myself on stages before. I've fallen off drum risers. I have, sometimes through my own fault, and sometimes through, fault of the venue. I remember one time I was setting up my gear, and I was coming down off the drum riser. There was like 2 steps down from the drum riser, and the steps were these wooden 2 steps, and they weren't secured to the riser. So I'm, in my haste, and while setting up, I'm coming down the 2 steps pretty swiftly, and my feet, the weight of me coming down the steps, it made the stairs slip out from under me. And I went down, and I remember hitting my ribs on the edge of the drum riser. And I was very lucky not to break any bones, and not to be like bleeding or, anything else. I had a real nice bruise, like, on the sort of side on the ribs there, and was really shaken up, of course. It had to fill out like a whole, incident report. This was back in Vegas at a place called Carnival Court, over at Harrah's, Las Vegas. So it was a place we used to play at all the time. And, this place used to have bands day, morning, noon, and night, kind of, and it's like, how could you not secure the stairs to the drum riser after how many years of having bands in there 7 days a week? It was just unfathomable. And of course, like the moment I get hurt, security sends out, a tech guy, and he's got his electric drill, and he's, securing the steps onto the drum riser. But that's after I'm down with, a bruised rib. So, you just have to be careful. Okay, so because no one's really looking out for you while we're doing this, okay? You know, and such was the case this weekend with these candles and these glass enclosures with the glass shelves, all of which could have just toppled over. Now, I did take a picture of the stage before we set things up on the stage, so I'm going to include that down below. Check it out. Check out the link, and you know, and remember that those look, when you see those shelves on the picture, I mean, you could just push them. You could just like go like this on stage, and then the shelves would be like rocking back and forth. It was insane. So yeah, so that, and then when you're playing a live room, you know, yeah, play quieter, but also make smart musical decisions, right? Orchestrate your part so that it fits the room better, so you're not blowing out the room with big cymbal crashes and snare drum hits. All right? All right, that's it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for your support, and many, many more videos with plenty more topics coming up this week and the following weeks, and so much more. Thank you again. Take care. Be safe. Bye-bye.